All right, so I'm currently working on a documentary right now. I filmed probably about 8 hours worth of interviews and have tons of B-roll and a whole bunch of other things that the client supplied me with, like photographs and video clips and just a whole bunch of stuff. And I just wanted to take a moment to walk you through my process because I really think that it could be beneficial to you when you're looking at your projects. Even if they're not documentaries, it all follows the same exact structure. The truth of the matter is that I can tell this story 100 different ways, and depending on how I want to arrange them is the story that I want to tell. So what's interesting is that you actually have the ability to create the story and to shape it, and to, that's actually your job as an editor or as a filmmaker. You shape the story with the tools that you have. So I wanted to point out a couple of things that are extremely important and really help me to define how this story is going to come out. Okay, so the first things first is every story has a character, right? You got to have a character, and you got to define who is the main character in this story. For me right now, I'm doing a documentary on a water agency down in the San Gabriel Valley. And so the character of the story is going to be the people of San Gabriel Valley, because those are the people that matter the most, even to the agency, right? If I was to position the agency as the character, the main character, then it's kind of that's what most people would think, oh, this video is about them, all of the great, amazing work they're doing down there, how they've overcome so many challenges and things like that. But the more you position it like that, the more people tune out, because it's obvious, like, here's a video about this agency and let's just position them as the main character and it's all about the agency, etc., etc. Like, you don't really want to do that. The main character is why people are doing what they're doing for. Everything revolves and points back to the main character. So in this situation, we want to show all the things that this agency is doing for the people, for the communities, for the residents of the San Gabriel Valley. And so first you have to define who is your character in the story. The next thing you need to define is, what does your character want? In every story, there's a character, and usually they want something. They're trying to get something. They have some sort of aspiration. They have some sort of desire. They have something that they want to get. So what do, in this particular scenario, what do the residents of San Gabriel Valley, what do they desire as it pertains to this agency? Well, they desire to have healthy, affordable, clean drinking water, right? And water to do all the things that they need to do. Why? Because water is life, right? Water is vital to living. And so the character needs to make sure that they have this essential resource in their life. So that's their desire, to have reliable, affordable, clean drinking water and water to use for their life. Okay. The next thing is, usually in every story, there's a character who has a desire but can't quite get to that desire. They have a want, a need, or whatever. They can't quite get to there. And that's where we see, a secondary character come in who usually guides them along the process. We see somebody like a Yoda come alongside and give them the information to be able to help them get what it is that they want. Basic story structure, right? Now, this is where the water district comes in, is they come in to be not the hero, but to help the hero get what it is that they want. And so this is the most powerful way that you can position yourself as a brand or a business or anything. You want to position yourself as a guide to the main character. And I would love to take credit for that. That's not my idea. I got that idea. One, it's true in all, in all type of movies, but I also too got deeper into that idea from Donald Miller, who runs a business, a company called StoryBrand. And he goes into a lot of these kind of things. And it's so amazing because there's so many different ways to slice this up. But anyways, that's what's the most important, right? So you have this character, you have this guide, that's the agency that is going to help them get what it is that they want, okay? The guide will now give them a plan. and add some steps to take that will say, hey, listen, I have this formula. These are the things that we're doing. So in this particular documentary, the plan that they're giving them is a plan of conservation, education, and legislation. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to help you get clean, affordable, reliable, drinking water, all that stuff. We're going to make sure our residents have water down in the desert, which is the San Gabriel Valley. It's a desert. They don't have enough water on their own to be able to survive. And so the ways that we're going to do that is we're going to do that by educating the people ways to conserve water, right? We're going to help them come up with different ways. We're also going to make things and create, whether it's programs or actual inventions to be able to save and capture rainwater and all this kind of stuff. And then we're also going to go to the Capitol. We're going to go to Sacramento, and we're going to be a voice in policy and legislation to make sure that you have your objective, right? So this guide, it's important that your guide, whoever it is, the brand, the business, right, has a plan that they're going to follow, because you have to lay out that plan within your documentary. You have to allude to, okay, how is this person going to help the main character get what it is they want? He has to have some sort of a plan, some sort of a way. Like, think about those football movies where, it's an old, quarterback who, he didn't quite live to his potential because he got caught up in, some issues, but he had, the secret sauce on how to, throw, Hail Marys or whatever. Like he knows something that would benefit the main character, and that's what he's given to them. So really important to understand that this guide, this business, right, whatever, the guide has to have some sort of plan. Now, the next crucial part of that is that this plan has to somehow call the main character to action, right? There needs to be some sort of invitation to get out of your seat, to be a part of the solution, to be active in participating in this plan. It's not going to happen on its own, right? And this is where we start getting into, the transformation and things like that. That's where it ends, right? But there's no transformation if a person isn't taking any action. So this is why it's really, really important to make sure that when you're mapping these things out, when you're thinking about these things, that you're including something that is a call to action, that calls them to be involved, that calls them to change a particular point of view, or calls them to learn something that they didn't want to learn, or some sort of discomfort, or something that calls them and say, hey, we have to do this. If you think about all your favorite movies, like there was a pivotal point where the main character was faced with a decision, and he had no choice, if he wanted to get where he was trying to go, to do something that he most likely didn't want to do, or was uncomfortable, or was scared, or was any of these other human emotions. See, when you break it all down, that's exactly what people relate to, is they relate to the human relation aspect of it, right? They relate to what it is that people are struggling with. We can feel that. The person that they need to become in order to get what it is that they want. That speaks to all of us on a very, very basic human level. And so that's why it's super important to have this in your films, in your narrative work, in your documentaries, in your tutorials, in your YouTube videos, to be thinking about these things. Because when you pull somebody out, right, you give them a plan, now they have to make a choice. Now you put it back on the person who's viewing it, or the people that you're speaking to. Now people can place themselves inside of that story, and it becomes incredibly, incredibly powerful for telling a story that's impactful. So then the last, and I kind of alluded to it already, is the transformation. How does this transform the person, the main character, from when they first started? What is different about it now? So, for example, the call to action in my documentary is, man, you need to get involved. You need to be aware of this, right? You need to understand that this is important, and there's a lot of people that are working really, really hard. And not only that, but you also need to understand that what you do today will affect the future generations of tomorrow. So that's the call to action, is to get involved, get educated, support this kind of stuff. Understand that there's an issue that you play a role in, and that's your call to action. You need to be a part of this. And don't take water for granted, right? That's the call to action. Man, if they could just not take water for granted, they can understand it, and they can position themselves as part of the solution for the future generations and the future people of San Gabriel Valley. They will be a part of the solution, right? They will be a part of the victory. They will be a part of the transformation, which is obviously that last part. So transformation, how does it change a character? How does it change the person? Okay, so like, man, in this particular documentary, the transformation that I'm hitting on is it changes you from just a resident within the San Gabriel Valley to now a contributor to future generations, right? Now you are part of making sure that the future residents of San Gabriel Valley have the water that they need to raise their families, to do what it is that they need to do. San Gabriel's a desert. They don't have their own water. Like, they got to get it from up north and Colorado River, and they got to get it from these different sources. And there's a lot of fight with that, and there's a lot of money that's involved. And so they're not close enough to the ocean to where they can do the desalination and stuff like. So they got all these little things that make it difficult for them. But they're positioning themselves and saying, no, we're going to be the voice for the San Gabriel. We're going to make sure we have the water. We're going to make sure our future kids have the water. We're going to make sure that they never experience the droughts. We're going to make sure our basins are filled up, that the contaminants are not, in there, that we're capturing rainwater. We're doing all of these kind of things. Like we are a part of the solution for the future. That's the transformation. And then in addition to that is the understanding that before I just thought I turned on the tap. I took a shower, I washed my car, but now I look at it differently. I look at it like this, that water is life. Water is life, and it's a vital part of our future. And so that's the transformation that takes place that I'm focusing on within this documentary. And that's how I approach these documentaries and different types of film work, is you got to have certain elements, and you got to have them in a certain order to where they make sense. And when you break that structure, it causes confusion in the brain. We're looking for, like, man, why does that make sense? Like, I don't even get the point of that, right? When we start watching stuff and we start feeling that way, that's a good indication that the person, whoever made it, skipped steps or didn't define steps or didn't spend enough time on steps. And so man, it's a really good tool. It's a really good way, make sure that everything that you got going on is structured well. I plan on making tons of more content about story because it is super important to everything that you're doing. Creating videos, content marketing, writing a blog, doing YouTube, doesn't matter. Social media, that's why they got Instagram stories, right? Story, that's so important, and it's such a powerful tool to relay a message, to invite somebody into the experiences and the feelings and all of that kind of stuff. And so, I look forward to sharing more and showing you guys as much as I possibly can. Hope you guys are all doing well. Until next time.